All right, Angular Forms. So Angular Forms, unfortunately, Angular Forms is not supported by default. Right? Actually, in the newer version of Angular, when you do the new, it might ask you, so do you want me to include forms? Right? So it will automatically include forms in your project. If it doesn't, it's trivial to reference them. So the forms, all the behaviors of forms of input fields and drop downs and being able to bind them into variables in the TypeScript. All that behavior is implemented in a module called Forms module, part of the core Angular Forms module, right? And to implement is import is very easy. You just go to your app.modules.ts, right? Remember, I've said that you can declare there all your components and whatnot. In there, you can go and load the forms module and then include it in the imports. And now your project will have form support. So it's pretty easy to add forms. So here, what this allows us to do now is to bind input fields, drop downs, checkboxes, right? Any input field, right? Text areas, whatever, anything that folks can interact with. We can bind values that they generate. Whatever you type, whatever you select, whatever you drop down, or whatever, you can bind them to variables on the TypeScript side, right? So, for instance, in this course title there in this input field, this course title, presumably it's some field, some variable declared in the TypeScript side. Yes, right? And so to bind it, right, we use an attribute called ng model. So what this will do is that it will bind whatever you type in this input field, the variable will be updated, right? Or if the variable changes from the TypeScript, it will update the input field. So the doubly bound, right? The double binding here occurs because notice it has a parentheses and it has a square brackets. We're saying that these are doubly bind. So whatever happens in the template, it updates the TypeScript. And whatever the TypeScript does to that variable, it updates the input field. Okay? And it notifies anybody who's referencing it. So that's that. So notice also that variable course title, it could be a variable that is declared in the component in the TypeScript, or it could just be referenced here in the template. Notice that it's being referenced here in the add core. See that? Before that add core had the quotations of a new course. It was a hard-coded title for a course. Now we're taking it from a course title. We're passing it as an argument. So instead of having the hard-coded new course, is now taken from the command from whatever you type in that input field. Right, so here's a doubly binding. Right, if we type Alice, then we type is bound to the ng model, and then it can be referenced on the TypeScript using that username variable. Right? Or anywhere that variable is mentioned, it's notified of changes to that variable. Here, right. So here's pretty much the same implementation that we had before. We had the course title being declared as a variable, right? And then we are passing it as an argument. And then we're generating the value of ID. We push into the new course. It re-updates. And then notice we're saying that course empty string. Right? Basically, we're saying we're going to update the input field to clear it out. Right? So that we type something, we clicked on create, and then clear it out. I don't want it to be dirty from whatever I typed earlier. Right? Notice how so much easier this is. A little bit. I think it is somewhat easier in React. You would have to do an on change or an update, right? You would have to have a handler that does a this.stage change. So it's a little more involved. It's a little more lower level in React, right? Here Angular provides somewhat of a higher level abstraction layers, right? That you just need to learn what the syntax is and what it already does for you, right? So notice that here we're not using any of the lower level on-click or event handlers that are implemented by JavaScript, right? All that is wrapped by these attributes, right? That beneath, behind these attributes, obviously you have the on clicks, on update, on all that, right? But that's all behind it, right? So it creates this higher level abstraction layer.